right, our focus in this half an hour are the protests in Islamabad that have deadlocked the country, a clear bid to undermine a democratically elected government through a series of posturings. Joining me right now from Pakistan is Imtiaz Alam, senior journalist and political commentator. Thanks so much, Mr. Alam, for speaking to Headlines today. What do you make of the recent events that have been unfolding over, the past 12 hours and more? Mr. Alam, can you hear me? All right, we'll try and connect with Mr. Imtiaz Alam in just a bit. In fact, let me re-put my question to him. Mr. Alam, if you can hear me, I was asking about your perspective on the current situation, the crisis in Pakistan. All right, we'll go back to Mr. Alam in just a bit. There's some problem connecting with him. He'll be joining us from Pakistan in just a bit. To continue with the updates, Pakistani sources have now hinted at a clear bid by the ISI and the army to stage uncertainty in the country and eventually take over the reins of power. Pakistan's powerful army chief has stepped in to break the deadlock between the Prime Minister and the two opposition figures leading these protests, that is Imran Khan and Qadri. They both have told thousands of protesters that General Raheel Sharif had asked to be given a day in which to mediate. His ally Imran Khan echoed the same sentiments. The two opposition figures now want Nawaz Sharif to resign, a demand that they've been hanging on to for a while now. I'm being told Mr. Alam is back online with us. He's a senior journalist and political commentator. Mr. Alam, your perspective on the latest political crisis in Pakistan, especially what we're seeing over the past 12 hours.
Yes, I think last evening we were hoping that there might be some agreement because both the teams were very upbeat about some kind of an agreement. But suddenly we found that they are heading towards the conclusion, and finally Mr. Qadri, the leader of the Pakistan Party, who had given the deadline for yesterday, he gave the call to move towards the Prime Minister House and the Secretariat and the Parliament. So that he was followed by Mr. Imran Khan, and this is how the clash started. In the beginning, we felt that if the police is not responding and police is withdrawing.
Okay.
But after they got the orders, they reacted with tear gas shelling and lathi charge.
Absolutely, that resulted in this crackdown. A specific question to you, Mr. Alam. What do you think? What are the analysts back home saying about what happens next? Because here we have Imran Khan and Qadri asking for Prime Minister's resignation, but Nawaz Sharif repeatedly refusing to step down. So there's a clear deadlock over here.
I think the showdown will lead to the clearance of the capital. I think the agitators will be exhausted till late night or by tomorrow, and the police and civil administration will be able to take the charge of Islamabad, but the agitation will spread out to other cities of the country, and let's see that how far they are able to sustain this agitation. But there is no way movement in the country against the government.
Right.
In isolation.
Absolutely. But Mr. Alam, also I would like to ask you about the role of the military in this entire scenario. Do you think they're going to be coming back, assuming center stage once again, taking matters directly into their hands?
It seems, I think, they will not be taking over the country this time. Perhaps their plate is full and it is not in their institutional interest to intervene at the moment, because the courts are very tough on this and the media and civil society is very alert on this. I don't think the military is taking over. However, they did play a role in mediating the crisis in the request of the government, and these two leaders jumped their vehicles and rushed to General Headquarters, that is GHQ. After that, it was thought that perhaps there is some kind of a solution, but it did not happen because there was a controversy who called the army first.
Right. Also, can this latest political impasse be called a soft coup of sorts?
I don't think soft coup means a formula that if army star will ask the Prime Minister to resign and ask the opposition to go home. I don't think it's coming like that. perhaps the situation is like this, because in the parliament, all the parties are united against the army intervention.
Okay, and is the ISI and the army, behind the scenes working very actively, and therefore we are seeing what we are seeing right now?
I think you must ask Iraq to find this answer to this question.
What do you feel? I'm asking for your perspective.
I'm not a Najumi or Jyotishi.
Okay, and then also concerns, back in Islamabad, we spoke to Hamid Mir of GeoTV a short while back, and he confirmed that there have been continuous crackdowns on media, asking them to stop the coverage of these protests.
These two opposition parties, the media, there is pressure from various sections and various political actors, and this is right. And one section of media is bent upon destabilizing democracy, and other trying to defend democracy in their own way. The media is also divided, but of course there is a sense against the military intervention in politics and the military takeover. There is general consensus against it.
And very, very quickly, Mr. Alam, if you can tell us how do you see an end to this crisis? Do you think it's in near sight? Do you see it perhaps being resolved in a day or two, or will it take longer?
I think it will take time. If at all it dies out, it will take days and weeks to die down, because these leaders have to have kind of face saving. And of course, there is a lot of resentment in the cadres of these two parties. But on the other hand, something else can enter into the whole thing, and some very dramatic element can change the whole scenario.
Absolutely. Mr. Alam, joining me in the studio is our executive editor, Mr. Ansari, Javed Ansari. He'd like to ask you a couple of questions.
Imtiaz Sahab, where does this leave Mr. Nawaz Sharif? The view here is that he's become extremely enfeebled and weak and vulnerable to pressure from outside.
I think what has happened in Pakistan's history for the first time is that all the parties, the parliament are on one side, supporting and backing up the Prime Minister, emphasizing the supremacy of the parliament. But in practical politics or real politics, it doesn't happen like this. Today, the balance of force can be against the Prime Minister. Tomorrow, it can turn in his favor. But Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is expected to guns, I think. He is lying low that he doesn't want to give these parties other dead bodies, as it happened in Badal town when 14 people were killed by the police. So government had panicked after that and was very careful. And so far, although the people have been injured, but only 2 have died, unfortunately.